So this is just a jazzy thing that we put together to kick the whole thing off. Basically, right now we have two different what we call paths to AICP. Um, the traditional sequence is the way that people become AICP. It's the long-standing process where people would get their education, earn their planning experience, and then successfully pass the exam and complete professional planning experience, and then they become AICP. The big difference between the traditional sequence and the candidate program is that in order to start the path to certification, you need to have completed your professional planning experience. So for the candidate program, which you all would be eligible for, you need to either be a student or graduate of a planning accreditation board certified program. And what it allows you to do is start the path to certification early. So what you can do is you can enroll in the program even when you're just a student. Once you graduate, you take the exam. So you're able to start becoming AICP before you begin earning your professional planning experience. When you pass the exam, you become what we call an AICP candidate, and you're able to use that sort of designation on your resume and various places. And we have found that it's helped people, get jobs. And so then that then helps you in the next step, which is earning your professional planning experience. Now we know that this is pretty oversimplified, and a lot of people are actually earning professional planning experience as they're going along. So they might not just be starting from scratch here in step 3. But once the member completes the required number of years of experience, they enter some information in, that's step 3, and then prepare essays. There's 3 essays, we'll talk about that later. And the essays need to be reviewed, and once they're approved and you pay your dues, you become an AICP member. So that's sort of the program overview. It's 4 steps, and just to summarize again, the difference is you're able to take the exam right after you graduate, before you earn your professional planning experience. Another idea that went into the program was that, the data shows that people are more successful on the exam the closer to graduation that they're more successful at passing the exam. So that's sort of part of what's baked in here. So just an overview of what else is involved in the program, sort of aside from all the steps. The Code of Ethics, the AICP Code of Ethics, is really helpful and a strong feature of the credential. It not only is specific in what you can and cannot do, it's also aspirational and inspirational, and it's very important. And so part of the program when you enroll is you agree to abide by the Code of Ethics. And so it's very important that you become familiar with it, and then that's going to end up help you prepare for the exam, because there's questions about ethics on the exam. And then the certification maintenance is our professional development program. And I'll mention that a little bit later. Basically, throughout your participation in the program, you have to earn 16 credits. And then for the optional mentoring, we have a whole list of mentors that are professional planners and willing to provide advice. And so if you're interested, you can contact me and I'll hook you up with our career services manager. So when you're enrolling in the exam, pretty much what you need to do, so because you can enroll either as a student or a graduate, there's different things that are required. If you're enrolling when you're a student, you just have to enter your information in about your school. if you're entering as a graduate, you have to upload documentation. And we say allow 4 weeks to review, but it's actually, less for us to take a look at that stuff. And you can enroll year round. That's available. And this step one, there's a small fee, which is $35. That's another thing that we did with this program, was design it so that the fees are spread out over time, hoping to make it, easier, more accessible. And then also making the biggest fee at the end, theoretically after you've made some money earning your professional planning experience. So, and I just need to mention that right now we're at this very moment, we are entering into a new platform with our application process. And so this step is will be first available to you all January 5th. Okay, so we know that the big question that students have is, when do I get to take the exam? And because you have to graduate in order to take the exam, that's sort of how we set this little chart up to make it as easy to understand as possible. So if you graduate in December, the first exam you could take is in May. And if you graduate in May, the first exam you can take is in November. The fee to take the exam is $100. And we have a bunch of exam prep materials that are on our website that are free. We also have professional development officers. Each chapter, which is the sort of the local version of APA, has somebody on their board that's specifically responsible to help members prepare for the exam and sort of guide the way on the certification process. So they can help with exam prep too. Also, we have, raise your hand if you've ever looked on our website and noticed like the knowledge center that we have. Anybody? Okay, because what we wanted to know there was, it not only is that a good spot to go for exam prep materials, but also just in your classes and stuff as an APA member, there's a bunch of materials that would be really helpful. So like I said before, once you pass the exam, you can start using the designation. So here I'm just going to show, I'm not going to blather on as you read this here, and I can send you all these slides so you don't have to memorize it or take a picture of this thing. But basically, there's some time built in for reviews. You really need to pay attention to, sort of your end game, which exam are you trying to take, and then when do you need to get, the various information submitted. While we're on this slide, because it is pretty detailed, are there any questions here? Not yet? Okay. All right. So, like I said, you've been earning your professional planning experience, and the third step, once you have earned the number of years that's required, you just enter some information in. That's step 3. It's a separate step from the essays. And if you are thinking of entering your planning experience right before you enter your essays, you need to be really careful that you're entering your planning experience at least 2 weeks before the essay window to allow time for us to review the experience and make sure it matches up, because you want to be ready to roll for step 4. Also, there's no charge for step 3. And another little tip is that internship experience does count towards professional planning experience as long as it's not completed for academic credit or towards your graduation requirements. Okay. So now step 4 is when you prepare and submit 3 essays that reflect on the professional planning experience that you submitted in step 3. And this step here is $335. This is sort of at the end of your journey here. And I want to give you some pro tips. So this is the advice I give everybody about the essays. So number 1 is don't underestimate the essays. They are rigorously reviewed, and some get denied. So if any of your 3 essays get denied, you would need to wait for the next window in order to resubmit them. But here's where the tip comes in. We do have a special opportunity called the expedited review. So for an extra fee, so instead of $335, you'd pay $445, and you submit your application, your essays. And if you're denied on any of your essays, you can resubmit them within the same window. And so that gives you an advantage. You don't have to wait another 6 months to resubmit your essays. So that's pro tip number 2. So don't underestimate the essays. Spend time on it. You can have your chapter PDO review it or review your essays. There's nothing wrong with that. And we have a ton of resources on our website: do's, don'ts, tips, videos, all kinds of stuff. So, just please take advantage of that. And then once your essays are approved, you pay your AICP dues and you earn AICP. So there's just a few little extra notes that we'll mention about the program. So this is the web page that we have for the candidate program. At the bottom, there's like a PDF guide that has all kinds of information that's helpful. If you've looked at it before, we recommend that you look at it again because we recently updated it. And that sort of applies to this whole page. We're always updating it, sometimes even with different dates. So please, check back on this web page so you always have the most up-to-date information. Another little thing is a heads up. The links in order to enter some of these steps, so registering for the exam or submitting your experience, little buttons to do those steps will only be visible during the windows where they're active. So if you don't find it, it's on purpose. And then the last little thing I wanted to mention is that international professional experience is accepted. So so that's sort of the whole spiel. Does anybody have any questions about it?